I try to resist talking about Donald Trump sometimes because I think sometimes the media plays into his hands. We cover every single little thing that he says. But you can't ignore him when he issues an expletive-filled tweet, well, on Truth Social, his own platform, warning to Iran, various warnings to Iran, despite claiming there is a good chance of a peace deal as early as today. Well, if there is a peace deal as early as today, I'll eat my hat, because there is no sign that the Iranians are remotely interested in coming to a deal. They've always denied all along that they're in any discussions with the Americans, and yet Trump constantly repeats that. Now, I can't say two of the words in this social media message that he issued. I will read it out to you, but I can't read the two words, but you'll have to imagine what they are. He says, Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it, 3 exclamation marks. Open the effing strait, except he doesn't say effing, he uses the actual word. Open the effing strait, you crazy bees. Insert your own word, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch in capital letters. Praise be to Allah. President Donald J. Trump. He didn't say thank you for your attention to this message, which he's given to saying. Now, this is the man who holds the office of President of the United States. Now, the American media in particular came under a lot of criticism for covering up Joe Biden's mental decline. I don't think we've still heard the full story about that. So I make no bones about it that this man appears to be on the edge. But he's president of the world's greatest superpower. Now, there is such thing as the 25th Amendment in America, which can be invoked by the vice president and the cabinet to remove a president if they feel that he's incapable of performing his functions. Now, I don't know how seriously anyone in the United States is thinking about the 25th Amendment to the Constitution, but it's got to be surely a subject of debate if he keeps doing this, hasn't it? Is this further evidence that Trump is losing it? 0345 6060 973. And if he does carry out his threat to make tomorrow Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, I mean, what prospects are there for an end to this war? He clearly has no idea how to end it. It's clearly not going as well as he thought it would. Yes, they may have destroyed the Iranian navy. Yes, they may have destroyed a lot of Iranian infrastructure. But the Iranians keep hitting back, don't they? 0345 6060 973. Well, let's talk to Lord Hutton, John Hutton, former Defence Secretary, now Labour peer and former chair of the Royal United Services Institute. John, very good morning. What's your reaction to this social media message?
Oh, good morning, Ian. Well, it's extremely disturbing. We've all grown up, you and I, Ian, in a generation at a time when we have respected the presidents of the United States. We might not agree with all the politics of them, but we recognise and appreciate them as the number one ally that has kept Europe free from first initially Soviet domination and now the threat of aggression from President Putin. But it is becoming very, very difficult indeed to show the sort of courtesy and respect that we would want to show the President of the United States when he behaves and acts in the way that he's doing. I am disturbed about his use of expletives. Again, that's not the behavior we expect from a senior political figure. But I'm probably more disturbed by his threat to target civilian infrastructure in the indiscriminate way that he has indicated. The United States were primary movers behind the Geneva Conventions and establishing proper rules of war. And they did that for very good and obvious self-interest reasons, that this is the best way to protect your own soldiers, sailors and airmen when they're in conflict. You impose a set of rules and obligations and they're reciprocated. It protects your own economy from these kinds of threats as well. And the no mercy, no quarter language from the US Defense Secretary as well. I mean, these are really troubling developments. So, my own personal hope, I hope people in the Congress begin to act to try and rein in some of these abuses, because they're undermining, I think, the Western alliance. They're undermining our cohesion, and they're causing a lot of chaos, I think, when it comes to this particular mission in the Middle East, which I think anyone in their right minds would not want to see the Americans lose. We cannot have a situation where Iran emerges stronger from this conflict. But I would, for one, like to see more evidence of a coherent strategy and plan about how the US is actually going to prevail in this conflict. And I'm still waiting to see that.
Well, the plan seems to be to destroy everything. And I suppose he would say, well, in a war, you do destroy everything. The Allies in the Second World War did destroy German power plants, German bridges, the country's infrastructure. So why should this be any different? That's what he would argue.
Well, he may well argue that. But I think the rules of war are pretty clear. You don't target directly civilian infrastructure. And I think you could make an argument about whether that did or didn't happen in World War II. My own view is that I think the bombing campaign was a legitimate response. But I think in the context of what the President of the United States has been saying about Iran, I don't see that connection between striking the power plants and the other civilian infrastructure that he says they're going to do. I think that would be extremely foolish thing for him to do.
Is there a way out of this for Trump, or does he literally have to see it to whatever the end is?
Well, I think there should be a way out for him, a coherent way out. He needs to claim a victory. I want him to claim a victory. I do not want to see the Ayatollahs reinforced in their stranglehold on Iran and the cruel oppression they're inflicting on their own people, let alone others in the region. And I think it's also true, Iain, that, people say, well, you shouldn't start a war until you've got a clear plan about how you exit. There is no such war that has ever been started with a clear exit plan. I mean, let's be absolutely clear. The enemy gets a vote. The enemy can decide to do certain things that will change your plan. But I think to have started this campaign without any obvious way of dealing with the threat of blockade in the Strait of Hormuz strikes me as being very odd, because that was an obvious Iranian response. They've never made any secret that that's what they would do. I'm looking for signs that this is a joined-up, coherent strategy, but it is hard to see that at the moment. So I don't know what the end game is here. I think when we're told by the United States government that there has already been regime change in Iran, well, I mean, that's palpably not true. Yes, they have killed certain people, but the regime itself is still in place, and it seems to be even more strongly embedded. So I'm still looking to see evidence here and that there is a plan, and I hope we see it soon. I haven't seen it so far.
We're 21 days away from the King's state visit to the United States. I'm sure Sir Ed Davey will be on the airwaves today saying this is further evidence that visit should be cancelled. What's your view?
No, I think the King should definitely visit the United States. I think it would be a mistake to cancel His Majesty's visit. I don't think there'd be any purpose to be served in that. I hope the visit goes well and there isn't any embarrassment to the King, but I think it would be a very silly political gesture for us to cancel the King's visit. That would serve no purpose at all.
John, thank you. That's Lord John Hutton there, Labour peer, former Defence Secretary. Heleh Blake joins me now, British-Iranian activist and co-founder of United for Marsa. Heleh, thank you for joining us. What's your reaction to this kind of language from Donald Trump?
I wonder if it's all a political gain. But in terms of the civilian infrastructure, we believe they all belong to the Iranian people. But we do differentiate the civilian infrastructure with the IRGC's infrastructure, the command centres, the bases, and some of the factories that they actually own. So, up to this point, the precise strikes are working. Those repressive apparatus are being weakened. IRGC is being weakened, which is something the Iranian people have been strongly supportive of. Those inside Iran tell us it's either die or freedom. So they're very much hanging tight. They're not leaving the country, and they're waiting for those bases to be eliminated. So it qualifies the playing game, so they can come out again and they can take over the institutions and take their country back. So our position is that those infrastructures belong to the Iranian people and must remain there for the future of Iran. So the water systems must be spared, the power plants must be spared, but please continue to target the IRGC's apparatus.
I was watching an Iranian lady being interviewed in front of her house, which had been destroyed. And she was being very moderate in her reaction. In that, I mean, I think it would be me, my house had been destroyed, I would be in tears and sort of thinking, well, what on earth is the future? But she seemed to be very philosophical about it. Now, she couldn't actually say that she welcomed these bombing strikes. But the danger here, isn't it, that if they do target the civilian infrastructure, they will turn some of the population who might otherwise have been in their favour against them. And that would make regime change very, very unlikely if too many people took that stance.
I agree with that position. The regime will use that stance as a propaganda tool across the people that they do not agree with the regime. So I think that could be used in a propaganda campaign. So and we don't want that, because up to this point, people have been majority have been united and waiting for that moment to come out with a call of Reza Pahlavi to come out and take over the streets again. So yeah, I agree with that statement.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. That's Heleh Blake there.